chat today on our Small Business Tuesday Talk, two-a-days. Invest Atlanta is so proud of our business community. So we're taking some time out of our Tuesday mornings to highlight local businesses within the city that have done an amazing job at pivoting during the COVID-19 pandemic and are giving back. You're now joining us for our 11:30 chat with none other than Ryan Wilson, the co-founder and CEO of The Gathering Spot Holdings, which consists of the ever-popular The Gathering Spot and A3C, a music, tech, and film conference and festival. Ryan, along with this business partner, opened the membership club's first location at the age of 24 in Atlanta, Georgia. The Gathering Spot is a nexus of Atlanta's creative class, business professionals, and entrepreneurs, and has made a name for itself by hosting the city's most notable and prolific events. I think it's worth noting here that their youngest member is 21 and their oldest member is 88 years old. Ryan is leading the company's strategic vision and has been busy planning the expansion of the Gathering Spot's physical presence around the country, most notably in DC, LA, and a few other cities, TBD. Ryan has received so many accolades, such as Small Business Person of the Year by the Atlanta Business Chronicle and the John Lewis Emerging Leader Award by the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. Today's live performance and conversation will be set with Ryan chatting with our Assistant Director of Business Retention and Expansion, Sabrina Wright. I think you'll hear some very inspiring stories from Ryan today about how they're pivoting and giving back to the community. Most notably, they have an 8 a.m. call for an inspirational message. We know that they, like Invest Atlanta, have created a fund to give grants to people to be able to survive the COVID crisis. And so it's going to be a very interesting conversation with Ryan today, and I think you'll find it inspirational that our small businesses in Atlanta can thrive and will thrive, and that we'll all make it through this together. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan and Sabrina.
Good morning, Ryan. This is Sabrina Young-Wright, Assistant Director of Business Retention and Expansion at Invest Atlanta, as Nathan mentioned previously. First of all, I just want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your willingness to share your story about the Gathering Spot with Invest Atlanta and our audience this morning. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So Nathan gave just a brief background about you and the Gathering Spot, but would you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself and the Gathering Spot and your decision to open your business here in the city of Atlanta?
So I'm originally from Atlanta and had no interest in starting a business for most of my life. I wanted to be an attorney. Ended up going to school in Washington, D.C. So I went to Georgetown for undergrad and then immediately to law school. And it was while I was there, I started to think about what I missed most about undergrad. I missed being able to connect with people. I missed access to people who were studying different things that were from all over the world. And in talking to one of my college roommates, we decided that the private club or city club space really hadn't changed very much and wasn't a place that we could necessarily see ourselves in on a consistent basis. And so this was 2013, and I was working here at a law firm in Atlanta. And I started to write down the initial idea for this place where people would be able to come together and where we would be able to build community. Fast forward to 2016, we went through the full entrepreneurial process. We had to find space. We had a very difficult capital raise, but we knew we wanted to be in Atlanta because of the magic that happens in this city and really what we wanted the club to represent in terms of there being a lot of different types of industries that could be represented. And so we opened our doors March of 2016. And so I'm grateful that we're celebrating, or we were supposed to celebrate our 4-year anniversary shortly before we closed down.
Right. So we're pleased and just great and happy to have you here in the city of Atlanta. So with this COVID pandemic, can you talk a little bit about your business model, your original business model, and what the Gathering Spot is? Outside of the pandemic, and then how has your business shifted during this time?
So I've always told people that we were in the community business, not the space business. Our goal, going again back to that idea of what we missed about college, was this place that could house a lot of different people. But the gathering spot does have a location here that's about 25,000 square feet. It's divided into event space where we host. Last year, for context, we hosted like 2,400 events, all different types of functions, from seated plated dinners to movie screenings to cocktail parties. A lot with the corporate community in the city. We have a full restaurant and bar that's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to the membership. And then we also have collaborative workspace. And so that's private conference rooms, long workstations that stays open 24 hours a day. In addition to that, the club programs pretty consistently for the membership, somewhere north of 20 times per month, appealing both to the professional but also the social interests of the membership. And so that was the original thing that we've been doing for the last 4 years. Towards the end of last year, we introduced a new platform called TGS Connect, which gave members the opportunity to live stream and then watch again a lot of the programs we were hosting at the club. And so a lot of our efforts over these last couple of weeks have been shifting most of the things that we were doing in person online, like a lot of other businesses. But the community is still strong. We were able to continue most of the programs that we host at the club, absent the restaurant function and then certainly the events. But the community piece is still going, and you know, we're meeting on platforms like this all day long.
Right. So talk about a little of your staffing and how has that changed? What are your numbers, and have you had to experience any of the furloughs or anything like that that other businesses are having to do?
Yeah, this is you know, one of the things that we were really proud of is that there were about 100 people that work at the gathering spot on a traditional basis. The vast majority of that team in the restaurant and in the events parts. But we do have a team that's focused on membership and planning of the member functions and all of our different like branding and marketing communications. So those teams are still hard at work every day from home. Unfortunately, you know, we haven't had you know, the business on the event or on the restaurant side, but for everyone that was full time with the company, we've continued to pay everyone. It's I'll be honest with you, not necessarily comfortable to do that when you watch a large part of the, you know, the revenue that the business brings in not be there. But proud that a lot of our folks have been with us since the beginning and wanted to stand, you know, with our team as we kind of all navigate the challenges of this virus.
Nathan mentioned something that part of the things that you've implemented since this COVID pandemic has occurred is your daily words of encouragement to your team. Can you talk a little bit about some of those things and the different types of outreach that you all have with the community right now?
So we're speaking to the membership on a pretty consistent basis. For any business owners that are out there, one thing that I would encourage you to do is to stay in communication with your community or your customer base. It's helpful in many ways for them to be able to hear kind of your thoughts on what's happening. So I mean, in addition to the calls that we're hosting, this week we'll produce 15 different experiences that folks can tune into. Our goal there is just to continue to keep people talking, to share information. There's a lot of things that you see kind of floating on the internet, but we try to be a place to filter a lot of that information and get some of the thought leaders in the city to give the membership community, you know, direct information that they may be interested in. We have a program called Circles where different groups meet around a specific topic. And so there are entrepreneurs that meet, there are singles that are still meeting. And so it's been fun in many ways to continue the thing that was always been inspiring to us, trying to be the place that is the facilitator that's able to connect people. So I'm proud of our team and grateful to them for their work over these last couple of days. I mean, we have to be over the 100 event mark since this all started. I mean, we've been hosting a lot of different things for people to go to.
So Invest Atlanta, in response or in preparation for the impact that COVID crisis could have on Atlanta small businesses, we created what we call a business continuity loan fund that some of the businesses are able to take advantage of. Has the gathering spot done anything like that for your members who are small businesses? And then what are some of your other ways that you've assisted with the businesses that are partners with your organization?
So I want to first thank and applaud Invest Atlanta for introducing that fund and introducing it quickly. It was one of the pieces of information that we were sharing pretty often when the fund was announced, Invest Atlanta's fund. We announced a fund of our own for the membership community with the goal of trying to provide immediate relief to those that were experiencing some sort of hardship, connected to the virus. So an internal group of members met and went through the first round of applications, and we were able to send most of those gifts last week, and then we're going to go through that process again the first week of May with the goal of continuing to reinvest the community's resources back into the community with the goal of getting everyone across this, together. There are a lot of businesses that have been deeply impacted by what's going on, to the point where there's been very little to no ability to continue to generate any revenue, and so part of our goal is to try to stand in that gap, and again stick to the thing that we've always believed in, which is talking to folks when they kind of most need it, and being a resource.
Right. That's excellent. So you talked about your loan fund that you created at the Gathering Spot, and that's just for your members. What type of membership do you have, and have you seen a shift in that at all?
So the membership is a very interesting group. The youngest member is 21, the oldest member is 88. About a third of the members identify as small business owners.
Mhm.
The next third are, you could call them creatives. Generally, they're in the film, music, or generally like creative space. And the last third work for a lot of the large corporations in town. 60% of the membership base are women, and that's something that we're really proud of, and we've always wanted women to kind of lead the experience that happens at the club. But you'll see, and the best way for me to describe it is if you come into our restaurant on any given day, you'll see people who are wearing suits and ties sitting next to people who are wearing t-shirts and jeans. And
Mhm.
our belief has always been that there should be spaces where those two groups of people that ordinarily may not share space or be able to be in contact with one another have the chance to do so. And so, we've seen a number of partnerships and businesses and friendships start because of the different groups that are in the club on a pretty consistent basis.
Mhm. So I know Invest Atlanta hosted a small business award ceremony at the Gathering Spot last year. And honestly, I was new to Invest Atlanta at that time, and it was just wonderful to see so many people gathered for that event to support the small businesses, and also at the
Yep.
Gathering Spot to be there physically and to see, what the hype was about, because I'd heard a lot about the Gathering Spot. Um, so in that though, because of the shift and things are changing now, what do you see as a new normal coming out of this COVID crisis, and how do you think you may or will it change any of your business model?
I mean, so the gathering is not something that we can do right now, at least in person. So we're shifting there. I don't see us, hosting any mass gatherings for a while, right? And I mean, we're always going to make sure that we're staying consistent with what the health guidelines that are being produced
Mhm.
are. And so we're not going to gather in that way. The space is equipped from a tech perspective to continue to do smaller gatherings. We're investing a lot of time and resources right now to make sure that when it is appropriate to open, that we have the right safeguard measures before folks enter the club, to make sure that we're screening people as best we can. But I mean, the best thing that we could do at this point in time is to wait, right, and to try to get the virus to a place in our community where it's controllable, and that we feel comfortable, being able to do a lot of the events that we hosted previously. So we're taking a long term approach to this. This isn't something that although it would be nice to be able to do what we've been doing for years at this point. Being safe is more important, and in the long run, we'll get back to being able to do that at some point.
So yesterday, Governor Kemp announced that he's going to slowly open up some of the businesses in Atlanta. So are you saying that you're going to take a slower approach to that?
Yeah, we're not going to follow Governor Kim's guidance here. I mean, I don't know that there has been information that's been produced by really any other organization or entity inside of government or on a local or federal level that suggests that this is the right time to be back open for business. So no, we won't for sure be open on the 27th of the month. And I don't say that lightly or easily. I mean, this is not something that's comfortable, but I do think that for any business owner that does have space, it is important for us to be responsible now with not only the customers that are coming into our spaces, right, but also those that are on our team, right. I simply can't ask folks to come to work during a time period when I don't have information that lets me know that it's safe to do so. And so again, there's going to be a new normal, and I don't think that I think all businesses will open before there is a vaccine or before we have the virus contained in a way where it's not spreading at all. But the data in Georgia right now doesn't seem to suggest that we're anywhere close to that point. And so, unfortunately, that's not guidance. I don't say, again, don't say this lightly either, but that's not guidance that we're going to follow at this point because we simply don't think that it's safe to do so.
Yeah, I think that that's something that businesses can consider amongst themselves individually and make that decision that's best for their business. So I wanted to go back to, just the gathering spot and how you started and being so young, being an entrepreneur. Can you talk a little bit about the
I
challenges you
can't hear
faced
you for
getting
some reason.
started? I'm sorry.
I lost your sound. I'm sorry.
Oh, I apologize for that. I just said I wanted to go back to the gathering spot and how you started. When Nathan was doing our introduction here, he mentioned that you started out at the age of 24. Can you talk about some of the challenges you faced and perhaps provide some insight to entrepreneurs and
I'm not
people who
sure
are
if you
looking
can.
to start a business?
I apologize if you can hear me. I can't hear you. I can't hear you though.
I can hear you. Not sure what the challenge is here. Can you hear me now? Uh-oh, sounds like we may be having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Ryan, are you able to hear? Okay, I'm gonna see if we can address this really quickly and get Ryan back on.
Experience is starting out. So I will answer this question. If that's appropriate. So sure. I mean, there were a lot of obstacles when you're starting a business as a young entrepreneur. This was our first venture. I had the idea when I was 23 years old. We started to work every night out of my apartment in Washington D.C. And it was tough. I mean, I think that one of the things that I would say to any young entrepreneurs out there, though, is that you should start if you have a good plan to do so, and surround yourself with subject matter experts that help to bolster your credibility, but also the knowledge base that you have about the business. So while I didn't have experience in the restaurant and hospitality space, I had advisors and folks on our team that did, and so I was able to lean on those resources when we were going through the process. And so there's never like having the confidence to get going is a lot of times one of I think the hardest challenges when you're young.
Mhm.
But I encourage anybody that is interested in starting a business to please do so. I mean, there's not going to be a perfect set of circumstances ever when you're looking at starting a business. It's always difficult. I think that one of the mistakes I made early is that I would look outside and I would wait for the weather to be perfect and for the perfect amount of money to be in my bank account and for all variables to be in the exact right condition. That day's not coming, and so
Mhm.
the more you become comfortable with that, the easier it is as an entrepreneur to face all the challenges that come next. And there will be challenges. I mean, I think one of the ways that I'm looking at this time period as being in quarantine, and instead of focusing on everything that's sad about this experience. I just look at it as another obstacle that we face as business owners. We all have been through different trials and tribulations as entrepreneurs where things don't go right. The contract that we thought was going to happen, it doesn't come in. Like there's always things that come up. So this is the next thing, right? This is our test of 2020, and we'll look back on it like we've looked back on all the other challenges that we've had, and hopefully learn something from it. Know that we're probably more resilient and better prepared for the next challenge, but that ultimately we're capable of handling whatever comes our way. Now, I'm not saying that it's comfortable right now. It's certainly not comfortable. I'm uncomfortable, certainly, but we will get through this. We'll get to the other side of it, and I think that when we do, if we use this time appropriately, we'll be in a good place to to make our businesses even better when this is all over, or whatever we're in, kind of whatever our new normal will be. Yes, so A3C, I appreciate this question. We purchased A3C. It's a conference that's happened in Atlanta for the last 14 years. So going into the 15th year, we purchased it. A3C has been an experience that's primarily been centered around music, but we were interested in doing something similar to what we did at TGS, introducing the music community to the tech community, to the film community. And so right now, A3C is an experience that happens every October. It's given what's happened now. I mean, we're working on plans for this year, but really excited about what that experience will be continuing, to bring to the city each year. A ton of great speakers were at A3C last year, and we'll continue. And in addition to music performers that happened in the evening, we'll continue to do that each and every year that we're able to gather safely, with the goal of making it the largest conference of its kind in the Southeast. And so we're proud that A3C is rooted in Atlanta. It's always been an Atlanta company, but I think represents truly, again, what's special about this city, which is, when you sit back and think about it, what other city do you have huge legacy organizations like Coca-Cola and Chick-fil-A sitting next to the film community, sitting next to the music community, that the world, is kind of consuming what we produce there, sitting next to a network of colleges and universities,
Right.
sitting next to an amazing startup and tech community. And what's cool about this city more than any other place that I've been to is that we talk across those lines. If you go to a lot of other places, they're either defined by the one industry that runs the town, or if there's multiple industries, they're not in contact with one another. And that isn't the experience here in Atlanta. We collaborate across those lines, and I think are able to produce things here that nowhere else in the world is able to. So we're both on the gathering spot and with A3C. We're Atlanta companies through and through, and we'll always be rooted here.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I would, my advice to Atlanta on community and collaboration is for us to continue to do what we've always been doing. I don't think this is a new value for us. I think there are some cities right now that are having to kind of discover that in themselves and to try to build that culture. But that's not something that we need to do down here. It doesn't really matter what industry that you're looking at here. Those industries have thrived in Atlanta because there's always been unique collaboration in them. I'll zoom in on the music community for a second. I mean, where if you understand that hip hop is the world's most consumed form of music in the world, Atlanta is its capital at this point and has been its capital for the last 20 years. Cool thing about the hip hop community here is that there's a lot of synergy and working relationships that exist. But then going from that community is able to connect to the corporate community to amplify their messages and help. I mean, what we do down here, I don't honestly think that we give ourselves enough credit for. It's not something that is readily found in most places in the world. And we figured out how to do it here, and have figured out how to do it for a long time, which, again, I think once this is all over, we don't need to do anything different than what we've been doing for generations at this point. We just need to continue to keep collaborating, to check in on one another. To go on a brief tangent, it is super important for business owners right now and for and customers to continue to be customers to the businesses that you were supporting in the Atlanta business community broadly. If we want these businesses to survive, we can't assume just because we're hearing about grants and loan programs and other opportunities that they may be able to take advantage of, that those things beat a customer. They don't. It's absolutely necessary for the Atlanta community to do, if you're able, to support the businesses that are in our community by buying what we can, even if those businesses are not open. So I think a lot of business owners this year or this week are facing tough decisions about if they should open or not. Those decisions won't be as tough if they know that the community generally is behind them and will continue to support them during this time of crisis. So I'm talking about the barbershops and the nail salons and the gyms that, if we're being candid, have gone now quite a while without revenue, right?
Right.
And are going to be facing extra pressure to open, given that they haven't had really any activity over the last 30 or so days. If we stand in that gap and continue to be customers to those businesses, do things that feel maybe sometimes a little difficult. I've been, as you can see, I haven't had a haircut, and I miss my barber more than most people
Right.
in this world right now. And but I continue to pay for haircuts that I haven't received, not as charity, but because I really want that small business to continue to be there when we're done with this. If we
Exactly.
continue to do things like that, the businesses will be there for us, and we'll be able to safely return to them. And I think we'll all be proud that this community, when it's all said and done, will be in better shape than a lot of others where they're not going to practice that value. New normal for me is going to be, I mean, definitely for a while, needing to be protected when you're going into different spaces. I do think that, you know, our role in that is, I mean, first and foremost, as a space to maintain. I can't say that we weren't a clean space before this, but we're going to go to another step to make sure that, you know, we're practicing new protocols that between use the space will be being clean. And our goal is to continue to share information. I mean, similar to what the bulk of this conversation has been about. We want to be the community that really is there, particularly for the small business and the creative communities that are in crisis right now, helping to get them to resources that they need, and more importantly, to people that can support them during this time period. That again is what the business was founded on, and so that is what we're going to be most interested in trying to do. And it's the business or the entrepreneurs and the small businesses that a lot of times you're not thinking about, just because we haven't been in those spaces. I mean, we were having a long conversation about DJs, where if you are in any sort of live performance in the city, we love those folks when we're able to go to those spaces, but they have been out of work, right? And it's important for us now to look for opportunities to keep them still involved. I know that everyone likes to watch folks perform for free on different social media platforms, but it's important that you contribute as best you can to help them be able to continue to do that. And so that's our role in all of this, to try to push that sort of thought, and then hopefully customers to the businesses that will be able to keep going. I mean, we will. Although I'm uncomfortable, I am not sad about what's happening. I have a lot of optimism about what Atlanta as a city is going to be able to accomplish. I am disappointed recently by if I'm being very, very candid, by the lack of leadership that has that we've seen, and we're going to have to make tough choices to protect one another during this time. But if we do that, this community will thrive afterwards. The fundamentals of what was happening before all of this have not changed, right? We still are a city that has great things happening. We've had to go indoors for a while, but we will get back to a place over time where, again, the fundamental things of what made Atlanta great will go on. And so, you know, we'll be pushing that optimism forward too. We you know, we're still. This is a long-term thing. I think that, you know, looking at this as a 2-week or even a 2-month crisis is not the right approach. We as a community should be preparing to look at this longer term, but know that because of us being here, I'm grateful to be in Atlanta and so happy that we are rooted in this community
Yeah.
more than anywhere else, because I think this community will be able to get out of here with not with ease, but with one another, and ultimately get back to being able to do well.
I agree, Brian. The Atlanta community does stick together and work together so much. And I think that we'll have much more collaboration even moving out of COVID. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all the work you do here in Atlanta. We thank you for the gathering spot, and we know that coming out of COVID, you'll continue to be successful, and for everything that you're providing for your members at the gathering spot. I just want to thank everyone who joined us today for our second Tuesday talk. We'll be sharing this broadcast live on our Invest Atlanta YouTube and our Facebook page as well. If you'd like to follow Ryan, you can reach him on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find him at Spot on RW. So again, thank you everyone for participating in our Tuesday talk, and we will see you next week.
I thank you to Invest Atlanta. I can't I didn't hear that last part, but I appreciate y'all, and thank you for the work that you're doing on behalf of entrepreneurs and small business owners. It means a lot. The fund and all of the activities that you do on a routine basis we're grateful to it, and the many members in our community have taken advantage of it. So thank you for having me on, and to everybody that's out there, continue to stay connected with us, and if there's ways that we can be helpful, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.